performance level to this system. So, look, they're going to have to be patient. The club, the players are going to have to be patient. Ruben Amorim's going to have to be patient. Everyone's going to have to be patient. But I would like to have seen the performance levels getting higher. That's the one thing under Eric Ten Hag. You can't detach result from performance. You can win sometimes not playing badly, but it'll catch you out quite a lot if you continue to play at sort of an average level. And this is a very average level that United are performing at week in, week out. And that's why Crystal Palace are beating them amongst other clubs. And that's why Tottenham beat them today. Because you're asking basically for players to take individual moments.
We'll get back to Gary in just a quick second. But remember, if you like this video, please like, share and subscribe. And also don't forget to click the notification button so that you know when the next Big D video hits. And as always, you know what to do. If something is bubbling up inside of you that you need to get off your chest, the comment section is for you. The Big D reads all of the comments and he's always willing and keen to see and read what is on your mind. Anyway, in this clip, Gary Neville is going to be giving his astute analysis of the horrific loss against Tottenham Hotspur. 1-0, we got beat, and he's going to be talking about that. But stick around for after the clip, because the Big D is going to be giving his opinion on what Gary's got to say and his opinion on the match itself. Anyway, without no further ado, here's Gary.
They will need to change things, but when we've talked about Tottenham, we've reflected on the injuries that they've had. With Manchester United, there were injuries and illness within the squad. In the build-up to this game, as he said, it was a very disrupted preparation because of that. It was changing almost on a daily basis. Is that enough to explain the performance and the result today, do you think?
Well, there's no doubt that losing Ahmad meant that they lost all the balance on that right-hand side of the pitch. And we saw what happened against Newcastle when Xerxes played in one of those he played in the left pocket that day and he had to go out to that side to defend. The problem was today it meant that Bruno Fernandes was asked to put in, I mean, not that a player should be worried about putting in a big shift. They all have to put in a big shift, but when your best player's having to basically sort of trek out 50 yards to Jed Spence and then trek back in and leave Casemiro on his own. I didn't.
And then when he gets the ball, he's tired.
He's knackered. I didn't think that was right. I just didn't think that was right. I mean, look, I'm sure that he's got problems because he's got no players to call upon who can play on that side. But for me, your best player should be reserved for winning you the game, and I didn't think it helped that at all in the first half. And it allowed Tottenham an easy out all the time. So for me, that was an issue. But look, he's right in what he says. I mean, United had 2 or 3 big chances and didn't take it. The bigger concern is that the players aren't demonstrating in this system yet, in any of the 20 games that Ruben Amorim has had, apart from maybe Liverpool away, that there is an entertainment and a performance level to this system. So, look, they're going to have to be patient. The club, the players are going to have to be patient. Ruben Amorim's going to have to be patient. Everyone's going to have to be patient. But I would like to have seen the performance levels getting higher. That's the one thing under Eric Ten Hag. You can't detach result from performance. You can win sometimes not playing badly, but it'll catch you out quite a lot if you continue to play at sort of an average level. And this is a very average level that United are performing at week in, week out. And that's why Crystal Palace are beating them amongst other clubs. And that's why Tottenham beat them today. Because you're asking basically for players to take individual moments.
Let's look at the last 14 results. It's 14 points in that time in the Premier League. It's 12 defeats in their last 25. They haven't lost more games in their opening 25 games of a league season since 1973-74 when they were relegated. But these 14 that Ruben Amorim has taken charge of, the ones that he's responsible for, you talked about wanting to see improvement in performances under him. What have you seen that suggests that he's the right man to build Manchester United back?
The best thing about it so far has been actually his press conferences, and I think even today after the game, the way in which he communicates his vision and his idea and that he wants to succeed at Manchester United and he feels he'll get it right. I don't think there's anything on the pitch that I've seen so far, either in results or performances, that tell me that we're watching a really good team. We're not. It's a really poor team, this United team.
But even if it's a poor team, there are ways in which to make even a poor team look better. Are they there?
He has died in a ditch in respect of when he said very early on, I'm not going to change my idea, so now he can't. And that's, I suppose, an issue in some ways, because I do think there were probably, with those 11 players he had out on the pitch there, a better way of probably getting them into a system which would have meant they'd have felt more comfortable. But he can't change that now because of what he said previously. He's really sort of stuck his flag in the ground and sort of that's the way in which he's going to go down. But the performance levels are nowhere near good enough. and he'll know that. He had a very good team, by the way, at Sporting Lisbon. He had a fantastic team. So he knows what good looks like. He knows where he wants to take Manchester United to. The problem is at this moment in time, it's just not happening at all.
Jamie, have you seen anything on the pitch that suggests that Amorim can do this job of rebuilding Manchester United?
No, not necessarily. But the reason why I would say that is because the players aren't good enough, Kelly. It's a really poor Manchester United team. If you go back through the history of the great ones and you compare this, they are miles off it. They need 7, 8 top players to change. So we all thought that Ten Hag hasn't got a clue, he just doesn't know what he's doing, everyone else is better than him. And I'm sure this manager probably thought that, because he's got big egos, managers. He thought, I can come in there, I can change it. I know he didn't want to probably come in right now, because he thought, I need a bit of time, because the pain is only going to get worse for a while. But I do believe, and it's going to be hard because we're going to have to keep saying the same things, they need a lot of time. They need to get rid of a lot of players. They need to bring in better players, because that isn't the nucleus of a squad that's going to be competing. When you look at the likes of Arsenal and Manchester City right now and Liverpool, they are miles ahead. They are not good enough. So it becomes very difficult to make a really good-looking team out of that. So, and I think he wants to change the culture. I think, obviously, Marcus Rashford leaving players like that, they need to go. If they're not going to be the sort of guys that are going to train well, conduct themselves the right way, be good role models about the place, they need to go. And too often, I think people at the club have ran that place and not let the manager have that control. But I think he feels like the first one that's going to get that control.
He's been strong there, but what Jamie says about the players not being good enough, if you just take Tottenham's best players, Porro, Udogie, Van de Ven, Romero, midfield of Basuma, Sarr, Maddison, Solanke, Kulusevski, Son, Johnson, Tell. How many Manchester United players would get into that Tottenham team if everybody was fit?
None.
I think Bruno. I think you'd want to have Bruno in there. Maybe Ahmad, but to be honest with you, you've got Kulusevski or Ahmad, and I'll be honest with you, I think I'll be going probably Kulusevski. Yeah. So my point is, every single Tottenham player, probably barring one, if they were all available, is better than every single Manchester United player. And that's not being emotional, it's not ranting anymore. We've gone past that now. It's just really sad that that's where Manchester United are currently at. They haven't got the players.
And that's recruitment. Is that the level that you thought those players were at, the Manchester United squad players were at, when they were signed?
No. It's what happens to them when they get here. And we've seen players actually the other way, when they've left, actually start to thrive again. So there is something I talked about, Tottenham before, and that sort of cultural that platform. What's happening in the club at this moment in time? There's a lot of redundancies off the pitch. There is a lot of uncertainty. There is a lot of uncertainty on the pitch. They've had a manager be sacked this season already. It's not easy to perform in that environment. It's been the same for 10 years, and it's still not changing at this moment in time. Hopefully, in the next 2 or 3 years, Ruben Amorim is given the time to be able to build a successful team and squad. But every single Tottenham player that gets into their first 11 gets into Manchester United first, and probably apart from Bruno.
And the thing is, they've thrown fortunes at it. Fortunes. But if your recruitment is wrong, or your idea of a player, and you're bringing on 30-year-olds and signing them from absolute fortunes from 4 or 5 year contracts, it's not sustainable, and it's never going to work. So that's the other thing. So they have to change now. People like Jason Wilcox has been brought in. Jason knows the game inside out. Can't think of his name. The guy from Man City, who's obviously a fantastic CEO, Barada. So there are people that they are trying, but this you can't. I looked at that team today, and I'm thinking, looking at the subs, I actually felt sorry for him. It was really difficult to get a shape of a midfield. You could talk about systems all day long. He didn't have the personnel, really, that he would have liked at his disposal to get the result that he wanted.
If you're going to play two in midfield, you need legs.
Absolutely.
I think the way the game's gone now, everything's data-driven. So you talk about recruitment and, back in the days, eyes don't lie. You can see play. After 5 minutes, right, he's a player, that's what I want. But everything's data-driven now, and I think sometimes you've got to be very careful. But I agree with what Gary said about just not good enough, the players. We can talk about systems, but you talk like Bruno Fernandes today is probably the one, really. You think Ahmed was missing today, but the shift that he put in today, going out and just vacating a massive space in the middle of the pitch, got Casemiro, back end of his career, it's difficult, and it's there's no structure. If that was a training session and it was 11v11, and you can blow the whistle at any stage, you'd blow the whistle, there'd be players all over the place. There was no structure, in possession or out of possession. It's
Casemiro becomes like a bit of he gets a lot of stick.
Yeah.
That in his defence, I played midfield. I felt sorry for him today and there, because he looks, of course, because he's covering distances that are impossible for Rodri to cover. Rodri would have found it hard in that midfield today on his own, and he's the number one, as we say. But it was impossible for him. And if you haven't got the personnel, and he's got injuries right now, it becomes extremely difficult. Is he the right man? Like, you could keep sacking managers left, right and centre because it has to, like Gary says, there's stuff off the field they have to change, they have to change the personnel, but that will take time. You can't just have one window when you bring in 6, 7 players and expect it all to gel. It is going to take time. But probably the finances, Gary, with financial fair play, are they in a position to go and buy right now?
I don't think so, unless they get rid of players. I don't think they've got that 150, 200 million anymore. I think that sort of Anthony Casemiro window where 150, 200 million was spent was a really bad one, because that was a panic one that wasn't in... I don't think that was in the business plan at the end. It was when they lost to Brentford,
And I think my
Brighton.
understanding is that's part of the reason why there's this new round of layoffs coming up, is that it's all part of trying to balance those PSR books for Manchester United. So
Right.
it may be that whole scale changing of the squad might be a little way, and there might yet be more pain for Manchester United, who find themselves in 15th place in the Premier League title.
Well, where to start? I've got a feeling that some of the viewers are going to be going straight to the comment section after hearing what the Big D has got to say, if indeed you are interested in what the Big D has to say. Because the Big D is not all doom and gloom, and the Big D disagrees with a lot of what Gary and Jamie had to say there. And the Big D feels as though this is a perfect example of people within the game making the game a lot more complicated than it needs to be. The Big D watched the game. The Big D actually quite enjoyed it. It was actually quite a good game to watch. And the Big D feels as though there were a lot of positives in that game today. The result was crap. Terrible result. It's not what we wanted, of course. Could we have done a lot better? Absolutely. But it seems like an easy fix for the Big D. Well, easy is probably not the right word to say. A straightforward fix when the opportunity arises is probably the best way to articulate what the Big D feels as though the problem is. And the problem with this team now is a fundamental lack of a goal scorer. That's it. It's not rocket science. One man doesn't make a team, but one man can make a difference. If we had an elite goal scorer, one guy playing in that game today, Manchester United would have won. We created enough chances to be able to win that game today. Alejandro Garnacho had a phenomenal opportunity to score, but he skied it. And this is not the Big D ragging on Garnacho. I'm not saying that to stick it to him. I'm saying that to illustrate the point that if we had someone there who was an expert goal scorer, that would have been a goal. And if Manchester United had scored one goal in that game, we'd have scored another. Because I feel as though we actually played quite well. There was a lot of positives there. And I feel as though Dorgu was a big part of those positives. Gary mentioned there that, we were a little bit ropey on the right. I didn't think so. I thought that team had really nice width, because for the first time ever under Ruben Amorim, we had two proper wing-backs playing in their proper position. Dorgu was playing on the left, provided excellent width, and he played really well. And Dalot played really well on the right. Don't see the problem necessarily. I thought Casemiro actually played quite well, to be fair. Bruno was his usual self. The defence was actually fine as far as I could see. I mean, Onana should have done better with their goal, but they only scored one goal. They took their big chance. That was it. They took it. And Onana should have probably caught that ball, considering he's meant to be an elite goalkeeper. Champions League Golden Gloves winner or something like that, played in a Champions League final. He should have done better with that. He palmed it out to Maddison. And then Maddison scored pretty much a very simple chance. The Big D could have scored that chance. But other than that, they didn't really do much. But Manchester United they created quite a lot of chances. And if we had a player like Osimhen as the number 9, or Harry Kane, or whoever, someone who is an expert goal scorer, then that game would have been different. But that's what this team needs now. See, when it comes to setting up teams, you need to have the right personnel in the right positions. Obviously, again, it's not rocket science. It's football. We're not putting someone on Mars. Oh, good grief. And having Dorgu in his proper position provided nice width. He was bombing down. There were chances there. I mean, he wasn't perfect. He wasn't Paolo Maldini, don't get me wrong. But he did really well. And there was some nice shape there. And there was a couple of instances where he provided a nice outlet on the left-hand side. I mean, there was one particular instance where Bruno sprayed a ball, across to him, and then he tried to pass it, but I think Højlund was flagged offside when he tried to lay him off. But the point is, it was a promising pass, and you could see that the team were set up in a really nice way, and things were clicking together a little bit, and there was just some nice intricate play there, and that was because the team was set up in a manner that it's meant to be set up to play the system that Amorim's meant to be playing. But the problem now is, now that we've solved the left back problem, the left wing back problem, which has been a big problem, to be fair, the problem now is that we need a number 9. We need someone that can score the goals. Because we only lost 1-0, and we only just lost 1-0. And Tottenham only won because we failed to score. They didn't play us off the park. Quite the contrary. We played really well at times. And Joshua Zirkzee had his best game for Manchester United today. He was fantastic. I really enjoyed Joshua Zirkzee's performance today, and there was a moment there where he could have scored a header. Fair enough, he missed it. Fine. But I mean, some of his skill and some of his passing and some of his interplay with his teammates I was like, well, yeah, nice. That's good stuff. It's just a shame that we don't have a goal scorer. Rasmus Højlund, I mean, the Big D really likes Rasmus Højlund. The Big D feels sorry for Rasmus Højlund because we want Rasmus Højlund to be the player that we hope he's going to become, but we want him to be that player now. Especially considering we spent so much money on him, and I don't necessarily see any reason why he can't become that player eventually. He's just not there yet. The Big D watched this in the pub with the Big D's dad, the Big Ron, who you might see on this channel at some point too. And the Big D was talking to some fellow United fans, and the Big D said to a particular gentleman, if I was Ruben Amorim, I would compile a dossier of Didier Drogba. How he played, what he did to become the player that he became, how he progressed as a player over the span of his career, what he does on the pitch, how he interchanges with his teammates, everything that he does as a footballer. And then the Big D would present that to Rasmus Højlund in training and say, do that. Do that. He is the blueprint. You have the raw materials to be that kind of player. Whether or not he's going to be as good as Didier Drogba remains to be seen. But that is the template. You are a big, strong lad, just like Drogba was. if you model your game on that and use that as the ideal on the football pitch, and even if you got 50% of what he did, then you will be 3 times the player that you are now. Because Rasmus Højlund is a big, strong lad, he's fast, and he can finish. He just doesn't seem to be able to get into the position to be able to do that. And that comes with, I don't know, experience, tactical nous and training. But the point is, he's not quite there yet, unfortunately. But while we're waiting for him to become the player that we want him to become, this Manchester United team is crying out for a goal scorer. And it's been mentioned over the past couple of weeks that priority number 1 for the recruitment department at Manchester United is a goal scorer, a ready-made goal scorer. So let's say we got Harry Kane in for a couple of seasons for 60 million. If we got 2 years out of Harry Kane for 60 million in the summer, I think that would be 60 million well spent. Especially if he's able to coach Rasmus Højlund to become the player that we want him to become. But it doesn't have to be Harry Kane. He could be anyone. Anyone at all that can score a goal. Doesn't matter. Osimhen, maybe. I don't know. You know, he wants out of wherever he's at. Galatasaray, is that where he's at? I don't know. But whoever it is, we just need a goal scorer. We probably need 2. Because every great team has the main goal scorer, but they also have someone to come off the bench as well. Like, obviously, famously, Manchester United had Dwight York and Andy Cole playing up top back in '99, but they also had Sheringham and Solskjaer picking up any slack in case the first 2 got tired, which was famously evident in the 1999 Champions League final, where both players got the 2 goals to win the treble. But yeah, I mean, I don't think that performance was as bad as what, you know, Jamie and Gary are making out there at all. I think we were watching 2 different games. I don't know if they are saying what they're saying because they feel as though that's what the audience wants to hear. I don't know. Or maybe they're not seeing things that I'm seeing. Or maybe maybe the Big D's talking nonsense, but the Big D doesn't think he is. Because the Big D, as this channel promises, the Big D promises to give you the brutally honest truth, regardless of what other people say. The brutally honest truth as the Big D sees it. And the Big D saw a lot of positives there. But Manchester United at the moment seem like a great white shark with no teeth. But yeah, so when Gary said there was no balance on the right, I don't know what he was seeing there, to be honest. I thought Dalot played quite well, to be perfectly honest. But the big chances weren't taken. Yes, agree. Which harks back to what Big Z's just said. We need a number 9 that can score goals. The Big D does agree with Gary Neville in the sense that Ruben Amorim has painted himself into a corner by saying he's going to play his position, his tactics, his way from day one. That's that. It's not going to change. Yeah. And the Big D said from day one that he probably shouldn't have done that. He should have eased that in. So I agree with Gary on that front. But Jamie Carragher talking about this team needs 7 or 8 new players. He's talking nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Yeah, gone then. We're going to go out and spend 700 million in the summer or over the next couple of years. No. There's nothing wrong with Delete. Maguire played well. Mazraoui and Dalot are good players. Dorgu, good player. As I say, Casemiro played quite well. There's nothing wrong with Bruno Fernandes. Xerxes played really well. Garnacho wasn't great. He should have scored. And Højlund, well, he didn't score. But there's a lot of talent in that team. it just needs help. It just needs help. So getting 7 or 8 players in, don't be silly. That's just ridiculous. Sensationalist talk, that. Ridiculous. And what? Tottenham man for man, better than Man United? Behave yourself. Tottenham didn't play brilliantly today. Like I say, they only won because Man United didn't take their chances. It's not like they dominated us. They didn't beat us 3-4, 5-0. It was 1-0. They had one big chance and they scored it. That's it. So that's no. They do have some good players, fair enough. Son would get in the United team. Udogie would probably get in the United team. Udogie's a good player, you know. Bentancur's a good player. Yeah, I like him. And, you know, they've got a couple of players that would get in the United team. But to say that man for man, only Bruno Fernandes would get in the Spurs team, stop it now. Stop it. Pack it in. And see what they mentioned there again about players leaving Man United and going on to do well. So obviously he's alluding to, say, McTominay and Anthony, right? And fair enough, they have gone away and done well, but they've gone to lesser teams in lesser leagues. So of course they're going to do better, and they're away from the dreaded Man United microscope. And obviously, wearing the Man United shirt, it can be heavy for some people. And the thing is with Anthony, he's been a little bit. He's had some personal issues that have affected him, and plus, when he signed, you know, he had the added pressure of being overpaid for. So, but that's not Anthony's fault. And whenever I've seen Anthony play, I mean, I'm not going to say he's been a world beater. He's certainly not been a world beater, but he's been a lot better than what has been made out. And to be fair, you know, people have been crying out to get him out of the club. What we could do with him now, especially now that Diallo's injured. So, you know, be careful what you wish for. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of mourning about certain things and stuff. It's just like, I don't know, because it's the same with the Glazers and things like that. People talk about Glazers out, Glazers out, Glazers out. And then they get Ineos in, and then they don't like what Ineos does, and now it's Ineos out. So it's like, better the devil you know than the devil you don't. So, anyway, what else? I've made some little notes here about what those guys were saying. I don't think this team needs 3 years. Doesn't need a 3-year rebuild. Not at all. Not at all. 2 players. 2 world-class players, say, as I say, a number 9 and someone to help him out, transforms this team completely. Absolutely. If Luis Suarez can take a below-average Liverpool team that was just well put together and take them to an almost title win until Steven Gerrard slipped, then, you know, one player can take this Man United team up the league into, you know, challenging for the Champions League. Not a problem. So, like, 3 years, don't be silly. Just, like I said before, one man doesn't make a team, but one man can make a difference. And when Ollie was struggling for goals, he bought Bruno Fernandes, one player. And when we bought him, we shot right up the table. So, no, I'm not having that. And the Big D's got a theory as well. You know, there's a lot of talk about PSR and things like that, and Man United cutting costs, blah, blah, blah. And we don't have, you know, free income, etc., to buy the players that we want. Big D doesn't think the situation at Man United is as bad as what is made out. And the reason for that is a team United's size, a club Manchester United's size, with the fan base that Manchester United have got, with the merchandise sales that Manchester United have got, with the ticket prices and the season ticket prices that we've got, with the amount of money that's coming into the club from, televised matches and all of that, from the Premier League, from Sky, from all the different things, from Snapdragon, from all the different sponsors, etc. with the cash flow revenue that Manchester United have got, the Big D does not think that Manchester United are struggling with BSR. What I think is happening at Manchester United is Ineos have taken the conscious decision to plead poverty for the specific reason that they don't want to be fleeced in the transfer market. Because just a couple of years ago, Manchester United would have what was called a Manchester United tax on any player that they bought. So they overpaid for players. Like Anthony was the perfect example. What did we pay for Anthony? What was he, 80 million or something? Whatever it was. We probably paid about 20 million more than what we should have done, at least. But that's only because we were Man United. If it was, I don't know, West Ham that were going to buy him, West Ham could probably have got him for 40 or 50 million. But because it's Man United, we had to pay 80. So I think that Ineos are strategically putting that message out there that Man United haven't got the money, that they can only give you what they've got, which is very little, which is in fact obviously a ruse, so that the other team will agree to sell the player for, you know, what Man United are able to pay. And the Big D thinks that specifically as well, which adds to this argument because of the business that we've done in the summer. I mean, we got Mazraoui for a snip, we got Ugarte cheaper than what PSG wanted to get, and also we got De Ligt, who's been class. And he's another one that would get in that Spurs team, no problem. And we got him for a fraction of what we would have got for him, of what we would have had to have paid when he was still at Ajax. So, and we got Xerxes for a snip as well. But yeah. Anyway, I'm glad I've got all of that off my chest because it's been an interesting day. And yeah, but you know, just to sort of bookend this little rant, it's been more of a rant, this one, as opposed to amusing. But anyway, just to bookend this one, Big D quite enjoyed that match today. It was just a shame we couldn't finish. It was just a shame. But yeah, Big D thinks that all Manchester United need is a goal scorer. That's it. So if we get the right goal scorer in, who can put the ball in the back of the net, then this team soars up the table. Also, there was some nice width. There was some nice intricate play. Mainly because we had Dorgu playing on the left. Xerxes played really well. And also, Manchester United and the Big D doesn't think Manchester United are as skint as what they make out. But what do you guys think? If you've come this far in the Big D's musing/rant, you're clearly interested in what the Big D's got to say. And because of that, the Big D wants to hear what you've got to say. Please put it in the comments. The Big D wants to read what you've got to say, even if you think I am talking nonsense. Put it in the comments. The Big D can take it. The Big D can take constructive criticism. All I ask is you keep it respectful. Anyway, the Big D will see you in the next one. And hopefully we can talk about something a little bit more positive. Anyway, ciao.